Hey everybody, it's me, Henry Barajas. What are we in the? Has it been? I think it's 2020, 22 now. I don't know. It's been a long week, and I started doing these live streams to promote Helm Greycastle, and it did me wonders. It really helped get the word out there. Really helped get me connected with some friends and fans and complete strangers. And I'm really thankful for it, and I think this is a good way to help my friends, people that are, trying to get more comics out there, trying to get their own create their own ideas out there. So I created Contrary to Henry, and we'll get into why Contrary to Henry is funny when I bring on my first guest or my only guest. So we're streaming on Facebook, we're streaming on YouTube, and we're also streaming on Twitch. I'm not playing any video games, so that's probably why I don't get that many Twitch interactions. But it's just good to have this out there. So yeah, let's. So this my one and only guest this week is a really good friend of mine, someone who I got to know on the road at comic book conventions. Something that doesn't happen anymore. Something that probably will never happen again. So this is the next best thing for me, and he is one of the hardest working individuals I know, and such a cool talent. Please welcome Tony Fleecs.
Hey,
Tony,
everybody. Am I
Tony,
here?
you're
You
here.
see me? Okay. Oh, here
I
I am.
can hear.
Hey. Yeah,
Hello, Mr. David.
I got it figured out. You had been to dinner with my mom, I think, more than once, right?
So that's how we're gonna start this. All
I
right.
mean, if you want to talk about doing shows on the road and stuff, I feel like we spent a lot of time together.
We
Uh,
have, and I was having a difficult time at the Hawaii convention for personal reasons, and you and your mom provided a lot of comfort and in Hawaii of all places, for me
yeah,
at least. That was a rough
and,
time.
and pancakes, as I
And
recall.
pancakes. We had a really beautiful breakfast in Hawaii,
Yeah.
and you were one of the guys where like I would do 2 or 3 shows a month, and you were there, and it was just like, how do you draw comics for a living and do cons at the same time? It's incredible.
Well, now having not done it for a year, I don't know how I was doing it either. It was just like a real. I'd spent so long trying to break into comics and trying to sort of like start making a living that way that when it happened and when like making money at conventions was like a possibility, I was just like, oh, I got to do all of these. So I just in work and in conventions, I just never said no to anything, and so it got to the point where I was doing like 20 shows a year, and then still doing like I was never doing a comic a month. I would probably do an average like 6 comics a year.
Right.
But I was still that would mean I would work all week, then go to a show for 4 days, and then come back and work all week. Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah.
I don't miss it yet. I miss the
Yeah.
people, but I don't miss the schlepping 200 pounds of junk through airports every weekend.
That was, yeah. I mean, one of the things that separates you, I think, from a lot of road warriors, as we call them, not to get them mixed up with Animal and Hawk WWF Hall of Famers, but they did party like them. But you had a special connection, I think, with a lot of conventions and cities that gave something that a lot of people don't, an experience a lot of people can't offer is like something for kids. And that's
Yeah.
through My Little Pony and like doing sketches for kids and having the kind of patience and understanding that comes with that. And I that's what's something I always respected and appreciated about you on the road.
Well, yeah, well, I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and so I don't have kids myself, but kids, like, a lot of people get really bothered by children.
Yes, I know
And
I'm one of them.
yeah, and it never like I can just sort of tune it out. Like as a kid, if I wanted to watch TV, I had to just learn how to ignore my baby brother screaming about stuff, and so I just sort of
Right.
figured out how to zero in on stuff and tune that stuff out. So I could hang out with kids at these shows and sort of draw with them, and At like the Jimmy J shows, at the Amazing shows, they would do like an hour where I would just give out free pony sketches for a straight hour. And it usually ended up being like 2 or 2.5 hours. And kids would just line up and I'd just draw their favorite pony for them, or if they liked a Transformer, a Ninja Turtle, or whatever. And yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, shout out to Jimmy J, someone who, you know, if he liked you, you had the opportunity to go to Hawaii or Oklahoma, you know, great place.
Yeah, I went to Oklahoma.
You know,
he liked me.
Yeah, no, so that was cool, and you know, and we have a special connection. But before we get more into how well we know each other, we should talk about your upcoming series that I got to see a year ago.
Yeah,
that you've been working on for a long time. Please pitch Stray Dogs.
So Stray Dogs is my Image comic with Trish Forstner, my co-creator. It's a 5-issue miniseries, and the premise is there's a serial killer that takes his victims' dogs as trophies. And we tell the story from the perspective of the dog. I've since forgotten that happened. So these dogs just live in a house with a guy who seems to be very nice to them and feeds them and takes care of them. But then a new dog shows up and she remembers what happened, and she has to convince all these dogs that, like, no, nothing is okay. We have to get out of here. It's actually horrible. And so it's like a horror movie that's dressed up like a Don Bluth movie.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, growing up, I had a younger sister, and one of her favorite movies was Oliver and Company. And when I saw the pages you showed me, I was like, oh my God, this is Oliver and Company. But for my sister, who's now 30 years old, you know,
Right.
like,
Yeah, exactly.
I think, you know, we're entering a time where millennials are in their 30s. They love, you know, this genre, but now this is something for them today.
Right. Yeah, it's like a language that they already speak, you know, like they see these dogs, you know, just when you see the way that Trish draws the dogs, they're like, oh, they can talk to each other, but humans don't understand them, you know, like even without having to say anything about the rules, like you just know from looking at it, like what the situation is.
I mean, I think it's genius, and it's I'm so glad it's at Image Comics, and I'm so glad that you had some film and television interest before the book even came out.
Yeah, man. When I first moved out to LA, I was friends with people that there was sort of like a group of us that were like making comics and making film. My roommate went to AFI, and then some of my closest friends like Josh Fialkov were sort of like straddling, trying to do both, writing like Sci-Fi Channel movies and writing comics, but all just sort of like, you know, bottom level guys. And one of those guys, who's still one of my best friends, was this guy Gary Dauberman, who at the time was just doing, you know, just like struggling, doing rewrites and doing like, you know, Sci-Fi Channel movies and stuff. And we thought it was rad, you know, like,
yeah,
he's got a credit on TV. That's the coolest thing ever.
But to him, it's not enough. It's well, like you doing like Ponies comics, but you're like, oh man, I got to keep making more comics,
right?
You know, like, and we all think that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. It was exactly like that. But in the time since then, he wrote the Annabelle movies, and then from there he wrote Stephen King's It as well.
Oh wow, the original It.
Well, Stephen King wrote the original It. He wrote.
No, I mean the Lifetime version or the new one.
No, the new line. Like
okay.
It and It Too. The most popular, most successful horror movies of all time.
Yeah.
And he loved this story when I told it to him, and he was like, "Hey, as soon as you have something ready to go with this, I want to take it out and see if we can make a movie of it too." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great," you know, because like I come from indie comics, like we're just chilling, trying to doing our best to make comics and make money off of that. And he was like, "Oh, you could have this other money too. We could get that going." And sure enough, he just went and did it. You know, just went and sold the thing to Paramount Animation before it was even in solicits. So
I think that is smart, you know, because there is something that I like think comics doesn't really know how to talk about, but there is a speculator market, you know. And this book, once it comes out, it's going to be hot.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Yeah, I think it'll be helpful. It's sort of like a balancing act because you want to talk about it enough that people are like, oh shit, that'll be a thing. But you also don't want it to be just like, oh, it's one of these people that's just trying to get a movie off, you
Right.
know.
But
But
you're
I
not
also
that
think,
guy.
right, yeah, I've been in comics long enough, and I don't have any plans to go make movies. You know, like I just want to make comics, and this getting this extra money sort of helps push that forward. Like
Right.
basically, this before this book came out, it's paid for. You know, like me and Trish have made the money we would have made, like say if we drew it, if it was ponies. You know,
Yeah.
so then from here I can just take whatever else comes in or anything else and just put that into living while I make more, more of my own comics.
Right. And shout out to Andy Legal and Brave New World Comics. They're out in Santa Clarita, and they do a lot of live sales on Instagram and Facebook. And they're always selling some unique, cool, dollar bin finds, and also just amazing comics. And comics are coming out regularly. But you also have Comics Paradise, who's doing a signature series.
Oh yeah, Collector's Paradise.
Oh, Collector's Paradise, yeah.
Yeah, they did this cool thing where they're doing an exclusive of all 5 issues. Hey, it's my sister. They're doing an exclusive of all 5 issues, and we're doing these photo covers where it's like a missing poster of the dogs that have been kidnapped. And you can get all 5 of those signed and shipped to you in July when the whole thing's out. And you can also get sketch covers by me, Trish, or Tone Rodriguez, who also is the layout artist on the book. And then, or you could get the other covers. Like you can just get everything at Collector's Paradise. They have the whole setup there. And there's a incentive cover that they just announced today that they just put up too. That's it's like an animation cell. So the cover is just like the background of the cover, and then the image from it's like the first issue cover, but the image on it is on like an animation cell.
So you have to pull the plastic, kind of thing. Yeah. Wow. Well, hey, send that to me and I can share screen it. And while you're talking, I feel it. And so just for this is some insider baseball for people watching, or listening. But you are a part of Garage Studios that Tone started out of his garage.
Yeah. It's called Garage Art Studios because it was originally in his garage.
Did you work out of his garage ever, or was it all? Did you? Were you always?
Here? For years. We started in 2009, working in there. Me and Moreno and him, and then like a rotating cast of others. And then he moved away in like 2013 or so, 2014, and that's when we moved into. We rented a commercial space nearby. And then it was me, Chris Moreno, Dennis Culver, Chris Burnham, and Drew Johnson. And then Burnham left and Gus Vasquez moved in for the end there. But then when Corona happened, we had to shut it down because nobody could be in there working together, So,
right.
Yeah.
That's a shame. That's really, I was fortunate enough to have gone to the studio, and I know a lot of people are lucky and get to go to your workspace and see how, it's a dream for any cartoonist,
Yeah, it was great to have, just to be able to always have somebody to work with. But then also, like if somebody came to town, we could just have them come and guest in the studio, because like I said, I would go do conventions and still have tons of books to draw, and other people were the same way. So like people would come through town, like Mike Norton came through town and he needed a place to draw for the day. So he came in and crashed and drew. Justin Greenwood, when he would come down, or Ramon Villalobos, when he'd come down, like they would just come and post up and draw all day in the studio.
It's like Abbey Road of comics, to be honest. Just
exactly.
Jam.
It was a little more low key than Abbey Road. Whatever, like maybe 20 years from now, we'll be like, that place was really Abbey Road. But for now, it's just like the recording studio that's like two blocks walking distance from my house.
Right.
Who knows what's going on in there? Who knows what they're making? Maybe they're cooking up their own little stray dogs.
That's a beautiful thing, to be honest, if that was what's happening. So you got Stray Dogs coming out, but I think you had three other things come out in March. Is that what the tweet I saw?
Yeah. Corona and quarantine has been weird because I've just been working on all this stuff, and I've had just the longest time to work on it all because stuff sort of got slowed down and releases got staggered. At the beginning of coronavirus, I was finishing My Little Pony Transformers. And that was supposed to be a weekly series, but they ended up making it a monthly, so it ended up coming out all through the early part of quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after that, I jumped onto working on Rick and Morty, which is a 4-issue series, but I'm doing basically just half of the issues. Like there's a Rick adventure and a Morty adventure, and I'm drawing the Morty adventure. And this other cartoonist named Jarrett Williams is doing the Rick side. So that's like doing a half a issue every month.
Right.
And then Ponies came back around, and so I'm just doing 2 issues of the main Pony series at the same time. Because just like conventions, they would just be like, "Hey, can you do this?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, of course I can do that." And then I would sit back and sort of look at the schedule and be like, "Yeah, I guess I can." So right now, the way it's looking, I've got to do 11 pages of Rick and Morty before the end of this month, which is not impossible at all. And then an issue of Ponies at the same time and before the 15th of next month. So, and then all the Stray Dogs release stuff. And then, so yeah, it's crazy. It's a wild time here.
That's good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny how there is some job security in comics, like there is and comic book, creators have worked as if they were in a pandemic already.
Right. Yeah. When it happened that I couldn't leave the house, it was more of it just sort of took a lot of conflicts off of the table rather than meaning I already was set to stay in the same room all the time. This was just like, you have to stay in. You're not allowed to go out. No, but it just gave me an excuse. Really, that felt great. That was the best part of this horrible nightmare.
Right,
I could just say,
yeah. You don't have to make up a reason to not go to karaoke or your friend's wedding.
Right. You guys, I never missed a friend's wedding. I would curse them for having them. I'd be like, "Can't you just elope?" But I would go. But karaoke, I missed all the time. You guys probably went to like 100 karaoke's where you would be like, "Hey, come out," and I would be like, "The drop on."
I got to see you do it once, and I'm still impressed by your performance. I did not know you could sing the way you can.
I used to have a voice like an angel. Now I have a strained, older, out of shape voice, like an old warrior angel, like battle angel Alita. That's
great. So let's again plug Stray Dogs. Can you talk about the inspiration behind it? I mean, you love dogs. I know you have a dog or have had.
I do. I have a dog that's just very well behaved right now. Like usually he's all up in my business when I'm over here at this desk, and must be just chilling in the living room right now. I love dogs. I was watching a thing on TV and a serial killer. I left the room, and when I came back, the killer had a dog with him, and I was like, "Yo, did he kill somebody and take their dog?" And it was at the studio, and Dennis was just like, "No, that's not what happened." And I was like, "Oh,
where he go, that's
that'd be cool if that happened." Yeah. But like when I had that idea, I was just like, "Oh, that's interesting," and then I just sort of I didn't think too much about it. But when I had I pictured Oliver and Company, and I was like, "Oh, but if it was that, because usually serial killer stories are it's about a cop, or it's about the murderer himself, or about the victim, and so if you could do it about this other thing, because now that he's taken dogs, like there's these other characters in the mix. And that just sort of opened up the whole thing. And I was like, oh shit, it's this, like this happens at first. And then like, 3 issues in, this happens. And then, at the end, this is exactly what happens at the ending. And like all the ideas just sort of flooded into my head. I started writing it down immediately.
Wow.
And I knew that I didn't want to draw it myself, because I sort of know what my own limitations are. And I knew I wanted it to look like a specific thing. And like I can do, like me and Trish draw all the covers together, like she pencils them and I ink them. And so I can sort of pull off that look, but I wanted to find somebody to work with where it just came naturally to them, where it wasn't like they were trying to put on a look, where it was just like, this is what it looks like, because this is how she draws. And I knew Trish from My Little Pony conventions, because she draws My Little Pony too. And I had seen that she had done like dog artwork, and I knew she was a big, like I'd see her post pictures of her dog online. Like I knew she was a big dog person, but I didn't know if she was like would be cool with a story about murder and like,
and dogs.
Like it's a horror movie. Yeah. It's not like a cutesy thing. Like these characters are very cute, but they're inside of a horror story.
Right.
So like when I pitched her the story, it's just like every minute I was just waiting for her to be like, yeah, I don't think so, because it's one thing to read it, like the buy-in for that is pretty easy. It's just like, do you like dogs? Do you like, All Dogs Go to Heaven? Do you like My Favorite Murder? It's just like, oh yeah, check that out for sure. But the buy-in to spend years drawing it, yeah, like you want to make this a huge part of your life for 2 years. It's a lot, but she was just like, yeah, that sounds great. She was totally into it. And I'm super happy that because the work she's doing is so amazing, but also it's just so fun to watch somebody doing, because this is like her first big comic. Like she's done some My Little Pony comics, but this is her first project that's like more than 1 issue long, and it's not like it's my 10th. Hey, right. Trish, she's watching.
Does she want to join? She could join us.
Hey, do you want to hop in, Trish?
I'll send you you have the link. Send her the link.
Oh yeah, I do have the link. She might be at work. Let me see.
So when I used to do, while you're sending her a link, while I used to do stand up, and I wanted to do a joke about how like we don't deserve dogs because you could be a serial killer or a child molester and the dog will still love you.
Yeah, that's the whole story.
Yeah, it's like we don't like you could do the worst possible things, and as soon as you get home, that dog's going to be so happy that you're home.
Right.
When anybody else would be like, "Get out of my house," but this dog's like, "Oh, bring food."
That's exactly what the story is. It's just like these dogs all think that they're like this guy's the best, and it turns out that he's actually the worst. And it's so much fun. Because the way that we use memory in the story, like the dog's memories only last for like a couple of days. Like they have long-term, they remember what their name is, they remember where the food is at or where they sleep at and stuff, but they don't remember, like what happened on last Tuesday. I mean, I looked up how dog brains worked, but also to a certain extent, I was just like, I'm going to create how dog brains work for the purposes of the story too, because like, who's going to say that I'm wrong? The dog?
Right. There's no dog. No dog can dispute this.
Right, exactly. So it's a little column A, a little column B. Like I did read up on it, but I also was like, we're just going to do this because this is how it works the best.
Right.
But giving them like memories or like brains that don't always connect is great for mystery, because they can see something and then 2 panels later they forget that they've seen it, and the reader still knows like, oh, this is going to be a problem, but the dogs don't know anymore. It's sort of like that don't go in that room, like stay out of that room thing, but
the dog jumps on the bed. Yeah
exactly. Don't go in that bedroom. Yes, that's great. But with Trish, it's been great because it's her first book, and just to get to like, it's an image, there's a movie, like it's all these things that like
jackpot.
People go their whole careers without having that having this sort of book.
Any of those.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
I'm very excited for her, and I also I look forward to watching what she does next, because I'm just like, if this is what she started out with, who knows what's going to be next? You
Oh
know, like she
wow.
could, sky's the limit.
Exactly. Do you have?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming you have other plans, but is Stray Dogs your one and done, or are you gonna do? You gonna do more? Oh, we got
Uh,
Trish. Let's
yeah,
let's get.
let's bring her in.
Hey,
Hey,
Trish.
are
Oh
you
no, we
muted? Can
can't
we
hear.
hear
Oh,
you?
well, unmute. Unmute yourself.
Mm-mm.
You have to
Oh,
unmute. There
here
you
we
go.
go. Here we go. Sorry.
No problem. Hey,
I'm the
Trish.
professional.
We were just singing your praises. Congratulations on your first Image Comics project and movie deal. What's next?
Ooh, the
The
sky's the
pressure's
limit.
on. I know.
I know. I got to
That's
do
what I
something
just
big
said.
next.
What are you playing hooky right now, or are you off of work?
Oh, I just got off work.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wish you like had to sneak away from your desk and just be like, I'm on a podcast right now.
I can't work. No, I actually worked over, but whatever.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Get that money. Yeah, Trish has a day job. So we've been doing, like, I've been doing Stray Dogs in between ponies and other comic stuff and conventions, and Trish has been doing it for 2 years in between working all 40 hours a week as a, are you
That's
actually?
incredible.
Yeah, the day job sucks, and it's boring, and this keeps me zen, even though it's a horror movie about
Yeah.
dogs. But yeah,
But she'll
when he
stay up.
pitched it to me, it was crazy, and I will stay up until 1 or 2 in the morning, finishing pages, and then I'll get up at 6 in the morning and do work.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Comics
Yeah,
is not a great paying gig, but it is a reward that you can't find anywhere else.
Exactly. I'm on my cell phone. If my camera looks weird, it's because I have no idea where to hold this stupid phone.
You're just holding it out in front of yourself like a selfie
Yeah.
stick.
It's a
pretty much.
pleasant surprise, to be honest, and I'm glad. We always try to get everyone involved in comic book projects and try to not leave anyone out. But this was an opportunity to just chat up with Tony. But it's really nice to meet you, and I'm really excited to see the full, see everyone's reactions to this book, because I was privileged to have seen it a year ago.
I'm very thankful that Tony asked me. I don't know. I was very honored, and he knows me, and I love animation, and that's my passion. That's what I draw from is emoting and acting and all of that stuff. I didn't have a lot of experience in comics. I did a lot of covers before we started this project, and I just owe him so much. It's been so crazy. And from this, I got some other work with IDW. I got to do a full issue and a couple of little short ones, which was really awesome too. So it's.
I mean, I feel like
grown.
you're going to get a lot more from this when people see it. I feel like it's going to be, you're going to get a lot of emails, because it's such a unique and interesting looking book that I think everybody's going to sort of want that for their own thing,
That's my jam anyway. I'll take anything. I'm good.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny because when I put out my first Image book, I still haven't received an email from any publishers or editors, and only emails from like people in Hollywood. And it's mostly because the comic book industry is racist. That's my main goal. I mean, that's my main point here. But I really hope that you get more opportunities from this, because it's such just from the concept alone and the image and the covers and the interiors I've seen, this really speaks to like people like myself who are millennials who grew up with Oliver and Company and horror movies and horror books, and seeing these two genres blend together is really exciting and refreshing.
When he pitched this to me, I'll tell you, horror was nowhere near my brain. I'm not a horror person. If you laid out a bunch of horror movies, I could name you the big ones, um, Saw and all that, I could
Yeah.
name the big ones, but you know, he's got a mind on this one. I found myself more than one time saying, "Who hurt you, man? Who hurt you? Who did this?"
Well, then, like, since I pitched it to her, it got scarier and sort of like even more horror mover, like more of a horror story since then. Like, there was a big twist in the thing that I just sort of had circled as just like, then something happens here. And when I finally figured out what it was so bad that I was just like, oh man, I don't know if Trish is going to want to do this. Like, I had to like call her up and just be like, all right, so is it okay if we do this? Because, like, we build these characters, we love them so much, but then you have to put them through hell, when it's a story like this, and we put them through hell. Like, every issue is sort of like, the first issue is like the sort of suspenseful, like, something's going on, we don't know what it is. And then the second issue is like the part of the story where they dig into things and sort of like, they're like, did she really say that? Let's see what's going on. And they sort of start looking for clues, and they uncover stuff that they shouldn't. And then the third one, it starts to get like suspenseful, where it's just like, oh, they're going to get caught. There's going to be trouble if they keep digging into this. And then fourth one is like a straight horror movie, and fifth one is like a straight action movie, where it's just like,
Awesome.
Bang, like double page spreads, chases, like all the big explosive stuff that, like, when Image said they would publish it, I was like, that's so great, because I want to do an Image comic. Like, we don't do any vertical 2-page spreads like they used to do back in the day, but we do big 2-page spreads, like big action shots. And it's super fun. I'm super excited about it. Trisha's drawing that issue now, and I'm so excited. Every time a page comes in, I'm just like, oh, we're doing it. Like, this is the one. So yeah.
And the thing about horror movies is you can do Stray Dogs 2, Stray Dogs 3. I mean,
yeah.
And I feel like
Leprechaun, Stray Dogs in the Hood.
Yeah. You have there's so much potential with this series.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way our deal with Paramount is, we own the publishing rights. So if we want to just keep doing Stray Dog stories over and over, we can. But the way the story is, when you get to the end of it, like, I don't know what we would do that would be, like, as a unit, I'm very happy with it. So we have sort of like a special in mind, like it's selling pretty well. And so if it does well enough that it's just like, oh, we should do like one more, do one more thing. We've got sort of like a zero issue where it's like, here's little stories about these dogs that sort of fill in gaps and sort of show like how they got kidnapped, or like, just like these little short prequel stories or sequel stories. But to do a whole other story, like, I don't know what it would be. We talked about doing Cats, where the cats, they just don't care at all.
Yeah,
that
they don't care.
Murdered.
They help eat the people.
The cat is the murderer.
Yeah. Yeah. But
well, that's exciting. I'm so happy for both of you. Just to remind everybody, February 24th is when the first issue debuts.
Yeah.
And the final order cut off. Oh, you pushed it back
a week, and they pushed the FOC up a week because they're doing a special like incentive cover, like an animation cell incentive cover. So that has the background is like the background of an animation, like an animation background where it's just the doorway. It's the A cover of the book. So it's just the doorway, and then the cell lays over top, and it has the logo, and it has the character from the front cover on like an acetate animation cell. Right. So to get that done took an extra couple of weeks to print. So they're pushing the book back a week. But if your shop orders 25 copies of the book, they can get as many of the incentive covers as you want. So if you want one of those, talk to your shop. If you are a shop, talk to your FOC. It's going to be cool. It's a very neat looking cover idea. I'm very psyched about it. Trisha,
it speaks to me. It speaks to me on so many levels, mostly because I'm an animation art collector myself. But, just to see it that way, it'll just take it one step closer to being real, like a real movie,
a real cartoon,
real thing. It's a real movie.
That's exciting.
It's going to be real, even when it's just a comic, Trish. I don't know if you know, it's going to be a real thing in your house.
Yep, it's going to live here.
Soon you're going to have plushies of the dogs.
I could design those.
Don't get her
Yeah.
started.
Don't get me started, man. I got ideas.
When we first started talking about the book, she was like, we could do plushies, we could do toys. She had like all these ideas, and I was like, yeah, that sounds great. We got to draw this book. Like, let's do everything.
We should probably draw the book first.
Yeah.
Draw it first, and we'll get to all that. So yeah.
Yeah. Final shout out to Collector's Paradise, the signature set series signed by just Tony.
Yeah, signed by me, but you can get sketches from me and Trish and Tone as like an add-on. So you can get all 5 issues signed by me. And that's just because the shop is right around the corner from my house. It's close to your house too. And Trish is in Baltimore. So to get her out here to sign them all would be a logistical situation.
Right.
But we're going to send sketch covers out there. So if you order a sketch cover, like she'll do a dog sketch on your sketch cover and send it back. And then every issue will be signed by me. There's Gabby. Gabby does pre-press for our book. And she does lettering for your book, right?
Yes. My book, Helm Grey Castle, was a successful Kickstarter. And hopefully some news about it coming out soon. But yeah, I'm so honored to have talked and seen you, Tony. So great to meet you, Trish, and congratulations. And
thank you.
we're all just
Thanks,
waiting for this exciting series. So everyone watching, please go to your comic book store. Please, even if you get it on digital retailers, make sure you pre-order it, because it just shows the publisher and that there is some weight behind it, and it just helps everyone. So last minute plug. Anything you got to plug, Tony and Trish, before we sign off?
Yeah, we talked about Stray Dogs. I'm working on My Little Pony 96 and 97 right now. You can pick those up. And then I'm working on Rick and Morty Worlds Apart, which is a miniseries from Oni Press. And all of those basically come out at the same time. So if you're going to the shop to buy Stray Dogs, you can find My Little Pony books. You can find Rick and Morty too. But I mean, just buy Stray Dogs, just specifically. And then if anything else, I don't make as much off of those. So. and I definitely haven't spent as long on those, but they're. Right. I mean, I'm giving them the old college try, but Stray Dogs especially. It's me and Trish's book.
I just did My Little Pony issue 93. Just came out last week.
Congratulations!
Yeah. IDW
in stores now.
In stores now. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Good to see you.
And good to see you too.
Yeah.
Do you do live streams where you don't broadcast? Can we just hang out sometimes? I feel like I haven't seen you in person in at least a year. Can we hang out?
No. All my interactions have to be
for public consumption. Sure.
Yeah. Let's. Tony. We'll Zoom soon.
Yeah, that'll be great.
All right, y'all. I'll see you later.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank
We'll
you.
Talk to you later.
Thank you.
That was Tony and Trish. Really, really happy to see Tony. Like I said, really good friend of mine, someone who's been there for me on the road, been there for me as a friend, and just really excited to see this new Stray Dogs story come out. And after seeing, just the idea of it and on his phone a year ago, and then reading about the movie options and that Image Comics has picked it up, really it's good news, especially during these rough times. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'm going to be sending out a newsletter soon, so if you want that, let me know. I can add you to my newsletter list. And I got some good news coming out. And so everyone who's watching, please stay safe. Please wash your hands. Please wear a mask. And I look forward to seeing you in person soon.